Investing and Minecraft. What could be better? Yeah, I did it again. I keep forgetting I'm in creative and I just broke the window again. Anyhow, this is Grampy Jag, and we are coming back to you with another episode of Jess Talking. And I am Jess talking still about my financial journey and all that kind of good stuff. So I thought, and remember, this is a podcast. You don't have to watch it. So I will try and stop moving and jittering around. But this is a podcast. Just put it on, listen to it. It's good information in general. It is my opinion. It is my history. It is my results. And again, because this is about finances and such, they are my results. They're what I've done. Not necessarily mean it's going to work for you. I am not a financial expert by any means. This is just out here for your information and edification and transformation and all those other Asians. So to let you know, I am old. In case y'all hadn't figured that out already from all the times I told you. I am at an age where I can claim Social Security. So that's going to bracket it for you. And if you don't know, Google it. But high school, I was interested in stocks. Now, you got to remember, I come from the 70s, 60s, and 70s, and back then we had savings accounts where the standard interest paid was 5%, and credit card interest was a maximum of 9.99. Again, like I say, not 100% fact-checked here, so do your research. Always do your own research. But in any case, back then you could put money in the bank and you could get 5% back, and it wasn't great, but it was better than what we got now. By high school, I was interested in the stock market. You know, part of being in school then was you went through the newspapers and reviewed various sections in class. You don't have newspapers anymore, so some of you are shaking your heads. But I was interested in stocks and didn't understand a whole lot about it, but it seemed interesting that you could make money from pieces of paper. You know, a friend of the family used to work for Kodak. And back in the day, they didn't pay cash bonuses for their Christmas bonuses. They gave you stock. And they went ahead and just cashed the stock out thinking, well, you know, it's not a very old company and blah, 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 blah. And then Kodak blew up. Or was it Xerox? I forget. It was one of them. I think it was Kodak because it was out of Rochester. But in any case, the stock blew up and they could have made a whole lot more money just by doing nothing, which was fascinating to me. That was my start into, well, one of the starts into business because my dad was self-employed. So I got to see a lot of that particular mode of making money and such. But high school, I had a periodical, a newspaper called the Penny Stock Journal. So I have been looking into this stuff since way, way back. And penny stocks are basically cheap stocks, over-the-counter stocks. They're extremely risky, but you can also make a lot of money out of them if you're lucky. That's the problem. You got to be lucky because they are very high risk. And we've discussed a little bit about that. Higher risk, higher payout, but also higher chance of losing everything. So, yeah, you got to balance that. Flash forward a couple of decades. Finally, financially getting our feet under us and all this, but we got the house and we got the cars and we do all the stuff like we got to have the phones. You know, I don't actually have to have the phone. The wife has to have the phone. And if I could get her out of her job and get her back on a flip phone, oh my God, the amount of money we'd save. These iPhones are just money pits. But that's another story. So a few years back, finally getting it. Yeah, hurry up and die, guys. Where are you? There you are. He's in the back. Zombies. What you gonna do? Yeah, there's another something over there burning up. Undead, I swear. Anyhow, a couple of years back, I finally got on my feet and started looking at what I needed to open an account. And it amazed me how much things had changed. you can get into the stock market for, well, today, nothing. Basically, any amount of money. Back when I got in, you needed about anywhere from $500 to $3,500, depending on what brokerage you got into. E-Trade now will start you up basically with $1. Who knew? Anyhow, I got my $2,500 together. I did the paperwork. And by the way, the paperwork is the hardest part. It ain't buying and selling and trading the stocks. Paperwork and just being patient. Those are the two hard things. So I got my money in, and I put basically $500 into 5 different stocks, and sat around and watched them go up and down and up and down. And I had spent a year prior on Motley Fool. I was getting their newsletter, and they have a stock trader, which mimics the market, so you can put money in and see how it works. I highly advise, if you want to get into stocks, to spend a year with Motley Fool and use their stock trader to go and see how, whether your ideas are good or whether you would be called what they call wrecked, where you lose everything. It's better to lose fake money than it is to lose real money. Just saying. Anyhow, I did that for a year. I bought 5 stocks, sat on most of them for about 6-8 months. One of them was Mercado Libre, and you may have heard this story before, or maybe not. Mercado Libre, I bought at about $40, $45. I had like 5-6 shares. After 6 or 8 months, it shot up to about $180. And I'm like, okay, one of my rules is don't touch it for about, 5, 10, 25 years. But I also know things that go up rapidly go down rapidly. So I sold my Mercado Libre at about 180. So I made a good chunk of money. I put that money into 2 other stocks to diversify, because you can't just have one stock. You got to diversify by the number of stocks and what businesses those stocks are focused on. So I made money. And this is one of the things I try and teach people is, if you make money, don't be upset if the stock price goes higher. You got out before it crashed. Okay? Yeah, I could have done better. That's hindsight. Don't listen to your hindsight so much on stuff like that. So time went on. I got some Apple. Woo! I liked Apple back then. I'm not so thrilled with Apple anymore. Just on principle. I got rid of all mine. Again, made money. Not as much as I might have, but I did make money. Anyhow, best thing about Apple was once a year, let me repeat that, because that's how most things worked back then. Once a year, you got a dividend payment. And my dividend payment for half a dozen shares of Apple was $5.23. And I was so happy. I'd never gotten free money like that before. So the way dividends work is basically you hand someone your money and then they pay you for holding it over time. And you can get your money back if you want. Let that sink in. Now you do still have to worry about, is your money going to be worth the same amount as it was when you handed it to them, or is it going to be more? Is it going to be less? Because that's just how stocks work. But the dividends, that's cream on top. So if your stocks are going up, and you get a dividend paid on top, by the time you sell, you not only make money, you've made money. Cash in hand. So over time, I was doing a lot of growth stock to try and get growth in my portfolio, make money. But anyhow, like I say, make money, and I did okay. I was doing about 28-ish% growth, which is great that it's growing, but it don't mean nothing until you cash out. So yeah, that can always go south real fast. But I was doing about 28%, which is really well considering you want to be at least 12. Now, here's the thing about dividend stocks. Even back when I first got into dividend stocks, there weren't any what they would call high yield. High yield was about 12%. Most dividend stocks were paying like 3%. And if you know my opinion about inflation and return on income or return of investment percentages, 3% don't cut it. I need a minimum of 12, which is why mutual funds don't work. They get you about, well, they had been getting you about 7. They're doing better now, but it always had been around 7-ish. So you're on parity with inflation, more or less. But now we have high yield dividend stocks that pay quarterly, every 2 months, every month, weekly, and now they're talking about twice a week. I don't know about that twice a week thing. Weekly is plenty. The idea is these are not growth stocks, growth ETFs. These are income based. And they're very, very risky. But that is currently what I am in. Simply because I don't have the time to mess around. If you are young, don't touch them. Go with something a little more stable. Unless you got the money to lose. If you got the money to lose, do whatever the heck you want. Here's the thing, though. I don't have a lot of time. I'm getting old, and I got my wife to take care of, and my cats, and my chickens, and yeah, she wants another dog, too. So I got things and people and whatnot that I need to be able to have money for. So I don't have a lot of time to make it. So I'm getting into a little riskier. And I know I'm babbling around in circles here a little bit. But I'm bringing this train, this risk train, back around to something else that people have been highly interested in, that I have dabbled in, and that is cryptocurrencies. Personally, if I were to advise someone, if I were to say, based on my journey through the finances, I probably wouldn't be messing that much with cryptocurrencies. It is way too much like gambling. It is really easy to come out of it as a loser, because you got to remember, for every winner out there, there's a couple thousand people who lose everything. The money's got to come from somewhere. It doesn't just poof into existence. If you get too much money poofing into existence, you get inflation. So that means your money is going into someone else's pocket somewhere, more than likely, if you're doing crypto. That said, if I were to give myself one piece of advice, just one piece of advice, if I could go back in time and give myself one piece of advice, when Bitcoin came out, I would tell myself, no, you're wrong. It's not a scam. Because, yeah, people ask me, so what do you think about Bitcoin? I said, it sounds like a scam. You know, they turn the electricity off, all your Bitcoin's gone. Poof! Which is still true. But given what has happened, again, this hindsight thing, it's dangerous. If I could go back and do one thing, I would have told myself, buy yourself 1,000 Bitcoin for whatever it was, $10. Because look at what 1,000 Bitcoin is worth today. What's 1,000 times 100,000? It's a whole lot of money. And that's only been 10, 15, 20 years. You know, that's a huge appreciation. You don't see stuff happening like that. Go low and slow, just like baking a pie, and you'll get there. You go fast, you probably burn the pie. Maybe not, but you probably will. Most people will. Or it won't be cooked all the way through. Something going to be wrong with it if you go too fast. So what I tell other people is, hey, put your money in, forget about it. And here's another little aside. Did you know that the story I heard was the most successful portfolios are the ones where people have died? I know it's a little morbid, but here's why. They stopped fiddling with it. Once they stopped fiddling with it, there was no one to fiddle with the portfolio. It just made money. It just appreciated. So there's your case study for don't touch it. Wish I could follow my own advice. I really do sometimes. So anyhow, as I say, not a financial advisor, just relating what has worked for me. It may or may not work for you. Can't stress that enough. It's a very high-risk game. So what am I doing today? I have about half my money in growth, and actually probably more than half, closer to 2/3 of my money is in growth and standard dividend paying stocks. So what is a standard dividend paying stock? It is one that a company that's been around for a while, probably going to be around for a while, pays dividends on a regular basis, be it yearly, quarterly, or monthly, usually yearly or quarterly, and doesn't make a very high percentage rate, anywhere from, well, and today, I mean, when I started it was different, but today anywhere from, like 1% to maybe 18%. Those 18%ers are rare, and it's usually only for short periods of time. So let's get into how to actually interpret your percentages, since we're talking about percentages. When you invest money and you buy a stock or an ETF that pays dividends, you need to write down the actual real total dollar amount that you paid. That includes any taxes, fees, yada, 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 yada. Put it on a spreadsheet, set it somewhere, keep it there. And what you're going to do is you are going to compare how much money you're getting out to the original amount you put in. Now, the reason why I say this is, I don't know if it works this way for every brokerage, but for my brokerage, the cost of the stock, the historical cost, can change. I've had a lot of stocks that I spent $1,000 on, and they show me that the value is actually $600, and I've not sold off anything. But that's how your taxes are going to get calculated, is based off the cost of the stock. You want to know what you actually paid. Okay? At least I believe that's how it works. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, don't be shouting at me. But, if it's not right, clarify it for the other folks watching. I can only give you what I've experienced. And like I say, this starts getting really, really, really convoluted when you're starting to talk about how much money you actually make, what you pay, etc. So you have to pay capital gains. What's a capital gain? That's money you make in excess of the cost. So you have to pay capital gains tax on anything where you actually make money. And that, I'm not a tax expert, but if you hold it for a short period of time, the tax is actually higher than if you left it in the market for, I think it's a year and a half, something like that. Long term, which is what I'm telling you to do anyhow. Go long term. You'll save yourself some taxes. If you can do a 401k, do a 401k. I like getting into and being able to get my money. I am set up so that if I need to get my money out, I can sell the stock and it'll be back in my bank account within a week. Can't do that with a 401k. There's penalties. You can borrow against it and they charge you interest, and that's another whole mess of how they make money on you. But I want the brokerages and the government to make as little money as they can on me, while I still have the ability to get my money and spend it as fast as I want. So again, it's a balance, it's a choice. For me, it works. I know lots of people spend days, weeks, months, years trying to figure out how to keep the government from making 2 more cents on them. It's like, I'll pay the 2 cents. I want my money. Now, if it became excessive, I'd change my attitude, but it's not excessive. It works for me. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, calculating your percentages. So, you get, and the next video is going to show you this better, because I'm going to actually walk you through some of my stuff on my spreadsheets. But if you make $5 and you paid $100, what's $5 of $100. It's 5%. You made 5%. We'll say that's for a year. We'll just base it on a year. So 5% ain't that good, but if you figure you're going to be collecting that $5 every year for the next, I don't know, 40, 50 years, it starts adding up. So we're going to give you the next tool, and that is called compounded interest. Probably one of the most powerful tools mankind has ever come up with. And it's why banks and industry can make so much money on you. You ever bought a car? You buy a car, and this is going to sound weird to you, but you buy a car for $10,000. You do it on a loan, and it winds up really costing you like $19,000. So you lost $9,000 just by buying a car. That's another thing. If you can buy your vehicles and such with cash, do it, or as much cash as possible. It will save you so much in the long run, and watch your interest rates. I went with a fixed mortgage on my house. I refinanced it twice with fixed mortgages. Each one was lower than the last. Saved me tens of thousands of dollars. I paid the house off early. Saved me tens of thousands of dollars. If you just let the term of the loan ride, or you just pay the minimum on the credit cards, those are set up for people who are lazy, who don't need their money. Okay. Credit cards, you should keep paying those off as fast as you put money on them. Yes, I know it is not always possible to do that, which is why we have credit cards, but you need to get those things paid off and rotate to lower interest rate cards when you need to. You do not exist to put money in other people's pockets. You exist to have money put in your pocket. And that's something that society teaches you backwards. It's like, oh yeah, get a loan. You can have all this cool stuff. You get a brand new car that's worth what a house was 10 years ago. One of my managers, he bought a truck, and it was like $52,000. And it's like, I hope you have a kitchen and a toilet in that thing, because damn, that is $4,000 than my first house was. Okay, I got a 1/3 acre corner lot in town, 48.5. My parents bought 300 acres of land, had a house, several outbuildings, several fields that were arable and could be used by the local farmers. Cost them $50,000. So yeah, that was like 1968. So not that long ago. Not when you look at human history. 1970-ish is when this whole inflation thing really became a popular mode of leeching the money off of us. And sad to say, we're at the butt end of things right now, and it ain't going to get better unless somebody does something radical, like upending and redefining the entire financial system, which is going to be painful. But the alternative is also going to be painful. Do a little history. Look at what happened to Italy in World War II. Look what happened to their economy and how much the lira was worth from day to day. Oh, there's a skelly back there. Keep an eye on him. The lira just, one day you might be able to buy a watermelon. The next day you'd be lucky to buy a watermelon seed. That's how fast inflation was growing in Italy. We don't want to go there, especially since we're, quote unquote, the leading currency, the leading economy. If we go there, everybody goes down unless they become better than us, which is what the fear is with China and a few other places. Although I don't see that happening now. Anyhow, we digress here. Going back towards what we're doing, I will go over in the next video why and how I got into high yield dividend ETFs, how successful they've been, where the industry's going, what am I doing besides that. So that will be the next little Jess talking, and we'll start getting into some meat and potatoes. Potatoes, I love that word, taters. But like I say, if you're interested in investing, learn, read. Don't just watch my thing. I'm not a prophet, even if I am profitable. I'm not a prophet. Like I say, what I did worked for me. I got in, I bought a stock at a certain time, and it did a certain something, and I made money. That may not work for you. If I tell you to buy this stock that I got in on and made a lot of money, it may be done making money. You need to do your own research. Never put money in without doing your own research. And remember, your decisions are on you. Be a frickin' adult. It's not somebody else's fault or problem if you messed up or you got taken advantage of, because the thing that's in there is you. Can't stress that enough. So for responsible, I was going to wave, but I bust another window. For responsible investing, use some common sense. Listen to a lot of people. Follow the smart ones. Don't follow the dumb ones. And there's a lot of people out there wanting to take advantage of you. I ain't asking nothing of you. Just telling you what I did and how it worked for me. So, till next time, this has been Grumpy Jag. Oh, and by the way, the world we're in is Pluma, A Journey to the Future and it's Minecraft 1.12.2. Gotta love 1.12.2. Best version ever. And if you don't like Minecraft, that's fine. It's still pretty. Look at the nice purple floor. So yeah, we'll catch you next time. I'll bust a window for you. Ha! Did it. See that? Bye.